Hey everybody, Sleepy Reader here. I'm a bit thirsty. I'll have some water and seltzer water. I like water with bubbles in it. I've been reading Rebirth, 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 and Rebirth. So, that's not all I've been reading, but I have read all of these this week, and I thought I'd try to talk about them all together, although I don't have like some overarching opinion of Rebirth. Well, maybe I do, is that so far it seems to be providing solid but not stellar superhero fun. I'd heard everybody. I heard some people say that this was their favorite one last week, and I had been shorted on it, or my shop had been shorted on it, and then it did not. They thought, oh, we'll get it next week, but it did not appear next week, and I heard how it had sold out, so I thought, well, my shop is probably not going to get it. So I went hunting around, and the second, no, maybe the third shop I went to. At least third or second shop. I went to this gaming store that carries new comics, and they had it. I did see people talked about how it was going for $15 and such on eBay. Yeah, some people were asking for $15. Some were asking for less. I saw mycomicshop.com asking $8, but anyway, I got it for cover price. I think if you search around, you shouldn't have to pay too much for it. And so a lot of people loved it. I'm not a huge Green Arrow fan to begin with. I do like the way he looks better with a beard. It's funny. I actually liked him even better before he shaved the beard down to a more neat goatee. So there he is with the slightly fuller beard, and then he goes and shaves, and he looks like that. But that's still cool. Somehow it just fits better with the kind of Errol Flynn, Robin Hood kind of thing. And as people said, it's kind of interesting how they play with the fact that he's a rich Robin Hood. But everything in this issue felt to me I don't know. It felt too easy. Everything felt really easy and really on the nose. They kind of repeated the obvious statements about him being rich, and they talk about him being a social justice warrior, but any superhero, social justice warrior or not, would want to rescue homeless people who are being kidnapped to be sold to supervillains as slaves and experimental victims and the like, which is what he does. And the bad guys, for no apparent reason, are these gruesome pseudo-corpse-like fellows. I guess, it's sort of like ghouls stealing from the grave. They're ghouls stealing from the streets and selling bodies. So a bit of a spoiler, but this is I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything important here. So it's kind of a quick one and done, and the interesting part of it is just getting Ollie back in a relationship with Diana, getting the Green Arrow back with the Black Canary, and that part of it was what was really fun. The superhero part was very standard. The plot, the social justice angle was, to me, just lip service, which is, not a big deal. But, let's not forget all the superheroes save people, whether they're downtrodden or not. So we're not really getting an example here of what he does as a social justice warrior. And I really worry whenever people take on that kind of thing, are they really... are they at the level, as the writers, the people at the level where they really have something to say on these kinds of issues that are really useful to us as readers? But anyway, So I was left with the feeling that Green Arrow is kind of fun, but maybe nothing special. Which is pretty much the same reaction to Aquaman Rebirth. I love these covers where they're standing over the DC symbol. I don't know why. That's just fun. I thought this was a pretty well done issue of Aquaman. I felt like it kind of hit a lot of the same beats that Jeff Johns did when he redid Aquaman just in this past New 52, which was all about, how people don't take him seriously, and he really is a serious guy, and all of that. But it was a fun comic to read, and so he's fighting the underwater version of terrorists, which again is kind of just an on-the-nose kind of bad guy. And again, we're seeing his relationship with Mira. He had a relationship with Mara. I'm saying her name wrong, I feel. But he had a relationship with her in the previous... I didn't read beyond the Jeff Johns run, but he had a relationship with her in the Jeff Johns run. We kind of had that in Jeff Johns' own... in his Rebirth, big Rebirth issue, we had a scene somewhere, I guess I probably won't be able to find it quickly, where, it looked like he's proposing marriage to her. So I guess that comes after these parts, because they seem kind of distant to each other, but just beginning the relationship. Anyway, I don't think I'll be continuing with Aquaman, because I don't, maybe I'll try the real issue 1. I don't see what's special or unique or any way different from other Aquaman, and I'm not a big Aquaman fan. It's like, all right, Aquaman's back, exactly like he was before. It's not even a pullback, as far as I can tell, from the New 52 Aquaman, for which there was nothing wrong with it. And I enjoyed reading the Jeff Johns run for a while, on Aquaman. So, Detective Comics, I had the kind of flat storytelling was literally flat. Like in these other two, the ideas, were just sort of flat on the nose superheroes, just a standard superhero story. In this one, we got such sort of flat on the nose, kind of awkward writing. You almost could hear the writer say, here, I'm introducing this character. Here, I'm introducing that character. I'm setting this up. I'm setting that up. There was great art. Wow, really good coloring now that I look back on it. We had the appearance of Azrael. I ended up wanting more of him. There's just something very... If you ignore the very cool art, there's something very cheesy about the ideas here. We're going to have boot camp for superheroes. And it's not going to be subtle. We're just going to say it's boot camp for superheroes. I don't know that we have these people properly established. I feel like we're kind of rolling back a bit on saying these people are beginners who need training. Well, maybe Spoiler does. But I don't understand that with Red Robin, and I don't understand that with Cassandra Cain, who's now calling herself Orphan. These are interesting characters, especially to me, Spoiler and Orphan. I'm really sad that Bluebird isn't here. I really like the Bluebird Spoiler combo. Maybe she'll show up later. So this is a case of... Oh, and Clayface, that just seemed really weird. And I didn't understand, where this version of Clayface comes from. I guess he comes from the Batwoman, the New 52 Batwoman comic when it got really bad. But he seems to be just kind of like this clay version of the Swamp Thing now, but somewhere between the Swamp Thing and the Hulk, maybe, rather than a real shapeshifter. It could be interesting. All of these characters could be interesting, and the art is very interesting. Yeah, I'm repeating myself, but way too on the nose. And here's an interesting thing. A lot of these feature someone who is watching. A lot of these Rebirth books feature someone who is watching our characters, spying on them somehow, watching them on a big screen. I'm trying to remember if that happened in Aquaman. Maybe not Aquaman. I mean, people are seeing him on TV, but I don't know if there's a bad guy who's spying on him by watching him on a big screen. Or maybe there is. I mean, that's another thing is kind of like in the Green Lantern one where the big reveal was the Red Lanterns. Okay, we've seen the Red Lanterns a ton of times, including in the New 52. It's not like it's just a callback to some pre-New 52 time. Black Manta was in the New 52 a lot. Oh, that's such a well-drawn Black Manta, though. Man. And is he kind of... Yeah, Black Manta is watching Aquaman on a movie screen. And whoever these people are who have an army of Batman-looking guys have been watching Batman and Friends on a TV screen. That's just kind of a weird thing. Okay, Flash was of particular interest because I knew that it was kind of picking up on as it should, picking up on the story thread of the mostly very interesting DC Universe Rebirth by Jeff Johns, because Wally West and the Flash is the one who recognized Wally West and brought him back to our reality, and it feels like his ability to connect with Wally West connects us back to the past and the rebuilding of the DC Universe as something that contains all of its past within it, so to speak. But this one, and it's written by Joshua Williamson, who I really like on Birthright, and I hear his nail-biter's really good. I read a few issues of Ghosted. It wasn't for me, but I thought he was a good writer there too. But here, so far anyway, and maybe he'll get to take off on his own when the regular Flash starts. Here he's just kind of filling in the gaps for Jeff Johns, just sort of filling out what he's been, the mission he's been given him. We get a lot of Flash having dreams and discussions with different people, a kind of mirroring of the murder of his mother, a replay and a little more detail on the meeting with Wally West. By the way, I thought this artist was really cool. I thought the colorist at times let him down, kind of like here, kind of just made everything look kind of gray and grim, when actually we're looking at some very fun, jazzy kind of art that harkens back a little more to the Silver Age Flash in a way, in a modern style, but still, if it had been colored in colors that suggest the Silver Age a little more, I think it would have done much better. But what we really get, the core of the book here, the core of the book was, so much stuff to get through here, was just kind of a conversation with Barry and Wally that is just leading up to Wally saying, I'm heading out on my own. I'm running over to my own comic book, The Titans. I'm going to meet up with the other Teen Titans. So it really doesn't move anything forward plot-wise. It just sort of slightly connects the dots, and we get a teeny bit more of a reminder of the Watchmen image. I heard pointed out somewhere, maybe on the podcast, Eric's podcast, Long Box Reviews, where he and Travis were talking about this, of how it makes no sense that Batman would find this smiley face button in the wall of his Batcave. It doesn't connect in any way to the idea that the Dr. Manhattan or possibly Ozymandias is effing with our universe, or with this universe. It just it seems gratuitous, unless somehow Rorschach planted somehow behind the scenes here too, and planted a clue for Batman, and knows who Batman is. I mean, that's the only way I can see that. But so it's kind of an issue of just touching base with various points that Jeff Johns had already made. And I don't know, does this make sense? Did this issue make much sense to anybody who doesn't know a lot of this history, and didn't read the Rebirth issue? And it doesn't, I don't, in the ad right here, there's ad for itself in here. It says the next epic starts here, but the epic doesn't really start here. If there's an epic at all, you can't tell. It's just kind of a passing the baton. It'd be great if all of this Watchmen, now that I'm forcing myself to accept the Watchmen in the DC universe, if then all of the Watchmen in the DC universe stuff focused on one series, and the Flash would be a good one to do it. But I feel like we'll just get writers, doing what they have to do with the Watchmen thing, and then passing the baton, and then doing their best to get back to their own series, their own story that they want to tell. So I feel like it'll probably, in my pessimistic view of it at the moment, be a kind of a burden upon the Rebirth issues. They really, if they want to deal with the Watchmen Rebirth thing, there should just maybe be a maxi series about it. Or, like I said, focus from one thing. Here's one I was looking forward to a lot. Yes and no, because between things that have actually been published recently, and then my own back reading, I've read so many Wonder Woman origins, and I would certainly be happy just to stick with the Wonder Woman origin from George Perez and just leave it at that. But anyway, I kind of dreaded that Greg Rucka would feel he has to go back to the Wonder Woman origin, and in a way he does, in the sense that he discusses the idea that for Wonder Woman, this Wonder Woman seems to have two different origins, one made of clay, one the daughter of Zeus. So she senses there's something wrong. And the core of this issue is her just kind of mulling that over, looking at herself in the mirror, looking at her reflection in Ares' mask, and then considering kind of different versions of herself. I don't know. I kind of liked the scene of her crumpling Ares' mask. I thought that was kind of cool. I guess it's kind of cool of her putting the her magic lasso around her own arm and using that to tell herself the truth about herself. What I'm trying to say here, what I'm getting at here is this is another issue that seemed a bit forced to me. And it may be because for me right now, my two favorite versions of Wonder Woman are the just finished in the digital version and still finishing up in print, The Legend of Wonder Woman by Renee DeLiz and Ray Dillon, which I thought was really great. And then the Brian Azzarello run, which I really enjoyed. And so this has to kind of live up to both of those. And for me at the moment, as a starting point, it doesn't have me excited like either of those did in their first issue. If you look at it, most of this issue is narration in caption boxes, and that narration is Wonder Woman's interior monologue. The story is not very much told in actions. In other words, the story is told in Wonder Woman's thoughts, and it just didn't grip me, didn't grab me. Where I did get grabbed is where the last few pages are by the artist Liam Sharp, who's going to be one of the two main artists in the real Wonder Woman series. So that got me really excited. This is really great art. And I like this idea of her arriving in a kind of empty Olympus where there's these automatons, these Greek automatons made by Hephaestus that she's battling. And so there's some kind of mystery as to what's going on with Olympus. And that's got me grabbed. And so I am excited for the next issue. And excited for Liam Sharp's artwork. So I'm pretty excited for the upcoming Wonder Woman. Like I said, I have two current Wonder Woman comics that I really love, or two recently passed Wonder Woman comics that I really love, and I'm not sure if this is going to live up to those, but I think it's going to be good. Finally, so in a way, Wonder Woman was the one standout of these that was not kind of a standard superhero feeling story and setup. The best of the standard superhero story feeling ones was for me Superman Action Comics. This one may be part of Rebirth because it says Rebirth at the top, but it's not really a Rebirth issue. I think it really is an issue of action. So it's really the beginning of a new arc. We dive right into the action. We get a current version of Jimmy Olsen and current Lex Luthor, which I believe is a direct continuation of the New 52 Lex Luthor, who is a bit of a superhero, but of course no one trusts him and believes he's really going to stay a superhero. We get the Kents moving into a farmhouse, the Kents from the other universe, with Lois Lane and their son. And I was kind of sad to see him shave his beard. Why not have a bearded Superman for longer? But anyway, I definitely enjoyed this, and it makes me realize I need to hunt up the brief Superman Lois and Clark series that Dan Jurgens, the writer here, was doing during the DCU era. So anyway, I really enjoyed the battle between Lex Luthor Superman and Superman, and the kind of question mark it raised in my head about whether, at this point, Superman seems to be wrong about Lex Luthor. He's treating him like a villain when he is a hero. It's kind of, he's guilty without any proof, in a sense. I know you're always evil, so I'm claiming you're evil, even though I've just watched you do a good deed. Now, there is a hint that the bad guys were working for someone else. The people doing the bank heist, maybe this was all set up by Lex Luthor to make himself look like a hero. I don't know. It's also really great art, I thought. Great superhero art. And then thrown into it all is another version of Clark Kent. Who's this? What's this? That's really got my attention. And finally, at the end, the new big bad guy shows up. I found that a little disappointing. It's kind of like a lot of these others, like Black Manta showing up and the Red Lantern showing up, and I don't know. A lot of the bringing back the standard, most iconic. Well, it's right here on the cover, in fact. I'm not sure why Wonder Woman and Batman are on the cover because they're not in this issue. Anyway, I really enjoyed Superman Action Comics. So I have to say, even though it's the one I'm now looking forward to the next issue of most of all, even more than Batman Rebirth, although that could change very quickly when it really feels like Tom King is writing Batman. This Batman Rebirth felt too much like a not quite gelled mishmash of King and Snyder. And I'll be glad to be sort of free of the Snyder and Batman and just have some pure Tom King there. So, yeah, the ones I feel like I'm definitely want to keep following is Superman, which I enjoyed in a low-key kind of way. It didn't blow my socks off, but it is Tomasi, and so I'm looking forward to see what he will do with it further. Batman, Rebirth, Action, and Wonder Woman. I probably will continue to get The Flash because I'm curious of what Joshua Williamson can do with him, and I'm always sort of wishing for a good Flash comic. I'm pretty sure I won't keep getting Detective. I can easily get tempted by these things. They're only $2.99 if my shop has them and I get my discount. I might try a few more issues, but I'm not particularly excited to do Batman or Aquaman or Green Arrow. But all of them remain somewhat temptations. I think the least tempting for me is Green Lanterns, even though it was pretty good, because it just feels like, yes, we're going to give you some standard Green Lanterns. I'm not that into standard Green Lanterns. I hope that they don't take too long sort of filling in some of the blanks on the Rebirth thing. For me, maybe a bit of pulling the Band-Aid of my irritation with the Watchmen entering the DC universe. When they fully bring out that plot line, I'll probably be able to deal with it better than having it just sort of hang over my head. So I'll be back with another video talking about non-DC comics that I read this week, which there are plenty of, and two of my favorite comics were from that pile, possibly three. Talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.